Take advantage of the day. When you get an opportunity in this game, you make a play. The playmakers on three. 1, 2, 3.
Touchdown, Kansas City! The Chiefs are right in the thick of it, baby!
Welcome to this training camp edition of Defending the Kingdom as we go into guarding the MVP. Who will protect the Warrior Prince? MVP Patrick Mahomes. Mitch Holthus with you, voice of the Chiefs, along with the man we call the Shop, the Barber Shop, the Richmond Spider, the Spider-Man, Shawn Barber, 10-year NFL veteran, great ambassador for us and a great contributor in our community. Oh, Shop, do I see you have some headphones on?
Oh, man, I've been outfitted with the best, man. I would always say I've been blessed by the best. We talk about our Lord and Savior, blessed by the best, but no, we talking about these headphones. Bose has fitted me out with, you named it, the Bose updated noise cancellation. Man, these things, man, I feel like I'm in a sound booth right now, like I'm about to drop 16 hot bars for a rap song or something, man. I feel like I'm in the studio.
These are outstanding. They are for real. And they are the Bose Headphone 700. Now, you and I work from home a lot. We have to because of the coronavirus protocol, health and safety protocols. But sometimes working at home can be a distraction. With these babies now, if let's say you're in the work mode, you put these on, you leave your studio, and you can be in your own place. I mean, these are unreal, these Bose 700s. 11 levels of noise cancellation.
Man, I need all 11 too. I got 6 kids running around at home, and they got baseball practice, dance practice going on. The little kids are running around with all kind of tablets and laptops on, going all crazy. This is how I find my peace. This is how I find my mantra. And when it's time to talk about defending the kingdom and defending our warrior prince, Pat Mahomes, our MVP, I got to get in the zone, and nothing helps me get in the zone like these Bose 700s.
Or we also have to flip the switch and go to chill mode. And go into chill mode on these, if you want to turn it up, you can, or you, like you're saying, maybe you just want to chill. And these things are great. And then you go back into your recording studio and go to some other planet. These are unreal. So right now, just for the next several days, this is going to go quick. These headphones, 700 from Bose, $60 off the original price. That's through August the 23rd. Just go to Bose.com. But man, these are awesome. So let's speaking of awesome, we know about Patrick Mahomes and what he has done in his first 2 full years as the QB1 of the Kansas City Chiefs. It's in many ways unprecedented in NFL history. But these last week, and we're going to do it in this one too, this episode of the Defending the Kingdom, is how do you guard the Warrior Prince? How do you protect Patrick Mahomes? You had some great stuff last week. And diving into this week, I'm going to tell you, to me, and looking back at video 2, you can't take the RPO game away from him, right? He's such an effective runner when he wants to run. The play against Tennessee in the AFC Championship game is of legend. We'll talk about that the rest of the days that the Lord gives you and I on this earth. But to me, Shop, it's about, he knows he's going to get hit sometimes, but there's a difference between when he knows he's going to get hit and taking the hit that he does not know about. I'm thinking about the game against Houston right before the half last year, and when he lost, then the fumble came out in the sack and strip, or the times he just got whacked on by Baltimore or by Indianapolis. How do you mitigate those and go to a different level with this Chiefs team with Mahomes?
Man, I think it's a sense of accountability that has to go beyond just Pat Mahomes. The offensive line, the tight end, the running back positions, they play a part in our pass protection, and it's not just accounting for a blitzing linebacker, blitzer off the edge, a safety coming into the box and now coming. It's understanding that Pat expects you to hold that guy up for a 2 count. You might not block him for the entire play, but he needs to make sure that you can hold a unblocked or a free hitter for a 2 count, because there's a certain clock that goes off in his head, and whether he's being pressured or not, somewhere around 2.5 seconds is where his sweet spot is for releasing the ball. He loves to hold it 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, and then release it, because that 2 seconds gives the offensive receivers a chance to attack the defense, and then it makes the defense show their hand. And once the defense shows their hand, he knows exactly where to attack the defense. He knows their weakness, and he knows what route to wait on and where to throw it to be to maximize our ability to get down the field. And so he needs to make sure that everybody is 100% in tune of what that timing looks like about holding up. We can't have any whiffs. You can't just totally miss, because that leads to those free hits on Pat that he's not prepared for. But I think there's certain hits he's accounting for. He knows that quarterback position, for some big quarterback throws, you got to look down that barrel and you got to know that hit's coming, and you still got to be willing to step into that throw and throw that strike. 99.9% of the time, Pat Mahomes throws that strike on stride, and it leads to a touchdown.
Yeah, but if you're protecting him, you're like the baseball player with 2 strikes, man. You got to protect the plate, right? Foul it off. Just don't, those hits that he can't see, or those whiffs have got to be mitigated and taken away in the 2020 season. You know, it's interesting, too, when I was reviewing the tape of 2019 of the video of those games, how many times even the wide receivers will be involved. Not just, I mean, there's times where not everybody's going out on a route. I was seeing a couple times Tyreek Hill had to stay in the block. We know what Pringle can do to block, or D-Rob, or all of them, even Sammy Watkins at times. Everybody on this team is called upon to protect Patrick Mahomes from time to time.
Yeah, definitely, especially with going against some of the high-end edge rushers. Sometimes you have to compress the formation, get those wide receivers about a yard or two off the tackles, let a running back go in motion, and kind of line up right outside of a tackle and give a little chip. Spencer Ware, he's had some chips over the last few years that have made a highlight reel, decleating guys, taking guys out the game almost with some of his chips. But sometimes just putting a little chip to throw that pass rush off, giving that offensive tackle the ability to hang heavy inside, because that's the one thing you can't do. You can't lose guys to the inside where they can have a direct path to Pat, because they get in his vision and they also get a hit right in his chest. He can take the hits from the outside. He knows pressure's coming from the outside, and he also can escape when he feels that pressure coming from the outside. But it's that pressure right up the middle. If you can alleviate guys infiltrating our protection when it comes between tackle and tackle, that's where we have our best success. And I think that's what allows Pat Mahomes to step up or either scramble out. And we know on the run, he is the best in history at creating big plays when you try to pressure him.
Yeah, in that Houston game, that crazy play before the end of the half, that was coming in the middle. That was A-gap stuff that kind of foiled everything and really changed that game. Okay, we got a lot of folks. Our Defending the Kingdom audience is growing throughout the world, so we want to give a shout-out to some. But some have even said, I love it when Shop goes to another level in his thinking. Like he goes, wow, someplace I didn't even imagine in protecting Patrick Mahomes. And we're going to do that. There's a guy named Derek Nelson from Houston, Texas, that said that. There's some others that I've heard from in our Kingdom audience that have said it. Catherine Lindahl listens from the Twin Cities. But before we get into where you want to go, which I think is a fascinating place in protecting Patrick Mahomes, we're going to check in with our guy, Matt McMullen. Now, have you ever met a human microchip?
Matt is definitely that, man. Man, his brain works on a whole nother level.
He's a great follow. Whether you follow him on Twitter, he's got his own podcast. You're going to see him on our shows more and more. We've been doing some live training camp look-ins. Matt's fascinating because he also will go to some places and dig into research that basic researchers don't go. So for the purposes of this discussion, which is guarding the MVP, who will protect the Warrior Prince 2.0, Matt McMullen was on with me on set outside the practice field earlier this week and had some fascinating statistics.
All right, Shawn, we continue with a second part of guarding, we're calling it the MVP, right? The Warrior Prince, who's there on top of the hill with the sword, who will guard the Warrior Prince, and the next level for Patrick Mahomes. Matt McMullen joins me now, home of the Matt Stat. The guy does not sleep. He's just digging into stats all the time. A terrific resource and follow if you love the Chiefs Kingdom. But with Patrick Mahomes, and I keep getting asked all the time, internally, externally, what's the next step for him? What would you say going into 2020?
So when you asked me to do this, kind of the thought was, how do we find how Patrick Mahomes can be a little bit better at avoiding pressure and not being injured over the course of the season? So when I went into it, I was thinking, okay, I'm going to look at these stats, and he's going to be really great with a clean pocket, and maybe he'll struggle a bit when he's under pressure. that was not the case. So first I'll go over what he is when he's not pressured. He's unstoppable. You can't slow the guy down. He's a video game. On 461 dropbacks last season with a clean pocket, 80% completion percentage when you adjust for drops. I mean, that's unbelievable. And a 112 passer rating, 8.6 yards per attempt. Unbelievable. When you then dig into how he's doing under pressure, he's just the best quarterback in the league under pressure. No big deal. He has a 90 passer rating, a league best 12 touchdowns, and he's sacked on just 11% of those pressures. So truly incredible what he's able to do when he's under pressure. So this isn't about Patrick Mahomes needing to be better under pressure. It's just about keeping him healthy. And how can we find ways where maybe he can get the ball out quicker or where he isn't just taking as many hits? And the answer to that, in my opinion, is something you guys already talked about a bit. It's just maybe being more comfortable with his receivers, being more comfortable with the offense. And that just comes with time and experience. And we've kind of seen that already. When you're comparing his first season as a starter to last season, his throws while hit dropped from 18 to 7, so cut that in half. And then his sacks dropped from 34 to 23, so he's already getting hit less. And I think that is just an indication of his comfort level with the offense and his comfort level diagnosing defenses and just knowing his receivers better. And my hope is that going into his third season, that will just improve and those numbers will keep trending upward.
Okay, there you go. Under pressure, he's the best in the league. Oh, well, let's keep him in the pocket. Don't let him get out of the pocket. Well, these numbers that he just gave us, 112 passer rating, 8.6 per attempt, 80% completion percentage when you take the drops out. So now people are going, what do we do against Patrick Mahomes?
Good, great, or elite. You choose which one you want. He's going to be good if you don't pressure him. He's going to be great or elite if you do pressure him. Most defenses, I mean, the only chance they have is to play coverage, hope for a drop, hope for a misread, or hope just by bringing 3 or 4, somebody beats a one-on-one and is able to sack them. Because if you void a zone, if you only think you can cover our 5 receivers with your 6 or maybe 7 DBs, our timing, the routes we're running, the concepts that Andy Reid is coming up with, they can beat any 7-man coverage. You can't double team all 5 of our receivers. And as a personality, when it comes to skill level, Tyreek Hill is faster than 99% of the guys covering him. McCole Hardman is faster than 80% of the guys covering him. And then you have the route running ability of Sammy Watkins, of Zeus, of our All-Pro tight end.
Well, throwing D-Rob, and I mean, there's a
D-Rob Pringle. So when you start going down the who to double, who don't, you run out of defenders, and so you can't bring pressure. And when you bring pressure, all that means is these phenomenal weapons we have are going to be left one-on-one. And the route concepts that Andy comes up with, there is no guarding any of our 3 top skill guys one-on-one with anybody you have on defense.
But because of that, what I saw teams do in 2019, and it's interesting, the numbers went down. Like his sacks in 18, Matt just told us, 2.1 a game to 1.6. So the numbers went down. But I don't know if the hits did. Like teams were taking shots at him. If you go back and look at the Baltimore game, he was taking some shots, maybe even a little bit after the play. And throughout the year, they're going, well, we're just going to take our shots at him because they know Patrick Mahomes to me is like Muhammad Ali or Floyd Mayweather. You think you got him in the 11th round, like you're ahead on points maybe, and whammo, he knocks you out in the 12th. So what teams are trying to do is figure out a way to knock him out in the 3rd round. And that's why we're focusing on these last 2 defending the kingdoms on how does the Chiefs improve as a team all the way around in reducing the hits that he doesn't want to take on Patrick Mahomes.
Well, the only way to do that as a team-wide focus is to reduce the number of snaps, to reduce the number of dropbacks, to reduce the number of pass plays you have to call. And so when the Chiefs have that 14-point, 10-point lead coming out of half, they score right away to put it into a 3-score type ball game. That's when the defense has to bear some of that accountability. The defense has a chance to go out there, put their thumb on the jugular, being able to control that ball game for the rest of the ball game, not giving up a quick score, not giving up anything on the defense side of the ball, getting the ball back in red zone so now we can run the ball, run the clock, shorten the game, shorten the amount of snaps. And that's the way the defense as a whole can now play into limiting some of the hits on Pat Mahomes. And so we got to think about this. When we talk about protecting our warrior prince, our MVP, it's something that is not only the offensive line, running backs, and tight ends, but it also goes to the other side of the ball. And defensively, our mentality has to be when we have a lead, we have to hold it. when we're up coming out in the second half, third quarter, beginning of the fourth, and we put a team in a must-pass situation to try to come back, Frank the Shark has to come alive. Chris Jones got to come alive. All these guys that we're paying to get to the quarterback, when you know it's going to be a passing situation, you gotta come out live and not only stop the other team, strip it, get the ball back so we can go into our 4-minute offense and just run the ball out, run the clock away, and that will limit some of the hits on Pat Mahomes himself.
See, fans love it. I love it when you go to a place nobody would even think of. How are you going to defend Patrick Mahomes? Well, you're going to do it on defense. Yeah. Now, how much of this did we see, though, in the last 5 or 6 games of the season? I'm thinking of the Denver game at home or the Oakland game at home, even the Chicago game, which was supposed to be a knockdown dragout, right, in that game in late December, because it seemed like in those games the Chiefs' defense took control of that game or made an explosive play or flipped the field in a drastic way, and then it allowed Patrick Mahomes to be in a different spot than he was, let's say, maybe in, the game in Mexico City or the game earlier in the year against Detroit or against Indy or Houston.
Well, we know Pat Mahomes as a competitor. I mean, he loves to throw for 500 yards a game. He loves throwing 5 touchdowns. But we know that he has grown in that he's not counting on his own stats anymore. He's looking at the win. What is the best way to win the game and move on to the next? Because he realizes these seasons are long, and those hits, if you take enough of them, they start to add up. And so he understands that he has to preserve his body. He knows it's a long season. The season is more of a marathon, not a sprint. And listen, he'll shoot it out with anybody if he has to. But he knows for this team to be as successful as it needs to be, to continue pushing on, double-digit wins, get to the playoffs, work your way through the playoffs, and then get to the Super Bowl, he has to be as healthy as possible and playing at a high level. And that does not equate with him throwing 500 yards a game and 5 touchdowns. It equates with him putting the team on his back, understanding we got to run the ball, we got to throw screens, we got to get the ball in our receivers' hands. They got to sometimes create first downs. It's not always him holding on to the ball, taking that extra hit to try to wait for that extra window to open up. Like you said, one of the smartest throws sometimes is a throwaway because you alleviate the hit and you allow the team to live to the next down. And Pat Mahomes is good enough. He only needs a few drives to score 21 points. So we're never out of a ball game, and we always has the capability of closing the door, putting the nails in the coffin on a team in about 3 drives. So that's what makes him one of the greatest weapons in the NFL, is because he's undefensible, he's so explosive, and at any point in the game, he can turn the tide.
That's what I'm saying. He's like Muhammad Ali. He might rope-a-dope you
yes.
and then whammo, knock you out. But I don't know if you and I are going to go on the road this year. I just don't. I mean, we may not. It may be like baseball. So when the Chiefs go to Baltimore, we may be doing our work from here in Kansas City. We don't know all that yet. We're trying to figure all that out. And if that's the case, fine. That means we're having a season. But last year, it was after the Detroit game.
Yep. And
so we've landed. You and I get off the plane. You're walking to the car with your stuff. And so you're trying to figure out what's going on in the rest of the league or how the rest of get some of the storylines. And I'm listening to national broadcasters talk about Patrick Mahomes' game against Detroit. And they were talking about what a lousy game he had. And the numbers were way off. And I'm like, and I almost drove off the road on my commute home, right? I was just like, where are these guys? I'm going to find them. Because what are you talking about? He just led them on a game-winning drive that was Drew Brees, Peyton Manning, John Elway, right down the line. I go, that to me was the next step forward. I was so stinking proud of him last year, and he still had 26 touchdowns and only 5 picks. I mean, he doesn't care about stats, and others want to care about stats for him. He'll get stats, but he just took a whole nother level, I thought, last year in maturity.
Yeah, because he understands at the end of the day, the only stat that really matters is the win. And you got to be able to lead a team. And, some wins are going to be ugly. Sometimes you're going to throw 2 interceptions, but you still have to win the game. And even we talk about against San Fran in the Super Bowl, that was not the prettiest game in the quarterbacks in 2 interceptions. I know he holds himself to such a high standard. Any interceptions is more than he would want to have in any one ball game. But he understands that defenses are trying to evolve. Everybody's defensively is going to try to find ways to trick him, to try to mask the defense. hold it to the last second, make him hold the ball, and then try to get hands on the ball, deflected balls, whatever they can do to throw him off his rhythm. He is evolving as a quarterback. He's watching more and more film. He's having greater understanding about down distance, game situation, football philosophy. And he was the first person to admit himself. Coming into the league, he was not well versed on all the different defenses. He was very just, hey, I'm waiting for so-and-so to get open, and I got the arm power and the strength to get it to anybody at any time in a route right when he becomes open. But now he's evolving. He's watching more film. He's understanding from being on the field with Coach Spags and watching how people would theoretically defend him in certain situations. And now he's almost being prepared for certain pressures, prepared for an overload blitz or bringing an extra backer or a delayed blitz. All these things that defenses are going to try to do to throw him off, and he's now prepared for those things going into the game. I look for him to take another step forward. They always talk about the sophomore regression. He's going to regress to the means. After a few years, the defense is going to get used to him. It doesn't matter how much film they study of Pat Mahomes, how much film they study of Andy Reid. They are evolving, and they're going to create new philosophies. And there is no defense that's going to be ready for what Pat Mahomes, Andy Reid, and the skilled players we have on this offense come the 2020 season.
Shop, that Super Bowl was like Manny Pacquiao leading after 11 rounds, and he's feeling good in the corner. And then Mayweather, boom, knocks him out in the 12th. I mean, this guy is Floyd Mayweather. And so just to review here, as we get ready now to take training camp up a notch, going to be in pads, and that's where we'll go next week on our Defending the Kingdom and going into the toughness and pads and the mentality that you have to have in this game that you played for 10 years. But just to review, I think it's good for both of us and all of our fans to know that really protecting, guarding the MVP is everybody's responsibility. Everybody's, including the defense, as you brought up.
Sir. It's all hands on board. It's always been that way. And the thing about Pat Mahomes is he came into the league as such with that gunslinger mentality that a lot of times he took the onus on himself. He took getting away from the pressure, making the throw, reading the defense. He took all of that on his own shoulders. And now he's realized I can alleviate some of that pressure. I can release some of that to my running backs, tight end, my offensive line, even my defense, to once we get a lead to be able to shut a team out for the second half. And now some of the defensive players we got are owning up to it. And they're realizing, hey, this team does not have to be led by Pat Mahomes. We can win games on the defensive side of the ball. We can be the difference maker in the playoffs, in the Super Bowl. We can create just as many big plays on the defensive side of the ball as our MVP quarterback. And I love that challenge, how we see Honey Badger, Juan Thornhill, Frank the Shark, Chris Jones, always talking about how defensively they see themselves as being a top three defense, no matter what the statistics say. Another year in Coach Spags' defense, everybody gets a little bit more comfortable communicating, understanding, and even anticipating what Coach Spags is going to call. That should make this defense rise to the next level. So I see this defense being a top 5 defense in the 2020 season.
You and me both, and I think it can be more explosive. That's like 5 Defending the Kingdoms ago. Go back and look at it, how the defense can score by itself. So let the gunslinger sling, man. Do not take it out of him. This kid is unusual in his ability. It's just, if he's out on the street in the Old West showdown, don't have somebody behind him that he can't see get him, right?
Yes,
that's what we're talking about here in defending and guarding the MVP. Well, one more time, we want to mention those headphones you got on. Same with me, the Bose 700s. And after this podcast, I think I'm going to go chill a little bit because we've been working with them. Now we're going to go to some other spot. These are unbelievable. 11 levels of noise cancellation. And again, right now, just for the next several days, go quick at Bose.com. You can get 60% off the original price of these Bose 700s. Next week's shop, because it's camp, we are going to talk about toughness in the National Football League and with this Kansas City Chiefs team, because I will give you this precursor. This Chiefs team is a lot tougher than it gets credit for.
Man, I'm looking forward to it, man. We talk about mindset, mental toughness going into training camp. That's right down my alley. I can't wait until next week.
All right, man. He's the shop, barbershop Shawn Barber. I'm Mitch Holthus, voice of the Chiefs. Run it back, folks, and defend the kingdom.
Thanks for listening to the Chiefs Official Podcast Network.
10-5, touchdown! Lock it down! And the celebration begins at Arrowhead.